Let me see. We have now plenty of time for question and answer. I think let's take this opportunity also to take up the what Dr. Fong said. If you have any questions, especially translations of some of the slides, I'm sure our colleagues from China, Japan, who presented some slides which are not in English, I'm sure they'll be able to help out and send you more information on this. So now maybe I open the floor for any questions also from colleagues online. So I want to clarify also based on the presentation from Dr. Fong, you've heard she mentioned emission regulations. So in all of our in most of the countries, we have emission limits. So for vehicles, there are China 1, China 6 standards. These are emission regulations. We also have this for industries. So Thailand, they have emission limits for certain industries. There are emission limits for certain VOCs. That's also what they have in China. But Thailand, they have, in addition to the emission limits, they also have ambient standards for certain VOCs, the one that we heard from Thailand. And this is also what we will be developing in some of the countries that we are working on for this VOC project. And this is Mongolia, the Philippines. The Philippines, they would like to develop their own ambient standards, I believe, for VOCs. So they are investigating this matter. Vietnam is also part of this VOC project now, thanks to support from the Ministry of Environment, Japan, and also Cambodia. For those of you, Vietnam is also having a rapid increase in industrialization. And there are many emissions of solvents, paints, other chemical compounds. That's why they're also interested to work on this topic. Similarly, from Cambodia, these are all EANET participating countries, and they have requested. They said that they have a shoe manufacturing, many shoe manufacturing industry, and they would like to investigate also this issue of VOCs. Okay, please. Yes, sir, please. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you, first. I don't know. I want to ask from the first presenter or the second presenter, whoever. Let's wait.
yes, sir.
Firstly, I think the second speaker talk about emission, POC emission. There is a primary and secondary, I think. I forgot. I want to ask what the main source, the primary POC, say that from unburned petrol or unburned diesel oil, whatever, probably resulted the combustion system resulted POC in the air. Dealing with this process, whether we have to change the composition of petrol or we have to change composition of diesel oil, say that. So we have to protect the POC from emitted to the air. And secondly, whether we need a absorbent in the motor vehicle, say that, absorbent of POC and etc. So in the regulation, the cars should have a absorber or probably catalytic conversion in the engine system. Probably, I don't know. That's the first one. Secondly, I want to ask what the tube analysis for VOC, I think that $150 each. Is that refill tube or not?
Can you repeat that? Is that what?
Refill tube, analyze
refillable
sampling, gas sampling, VOC sampling, whether that is a refill tube or not. If not, for one analyze, we need at least $150. If not, already throw away after that. I want to ask to the first presenter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think these are very good. Dr. Ahara can answer the questions on the secondary and primary VOCs. When you answer Dr. Ahara, can you also elaborate when you mention, sorry, wait, when you mention biogenic sources of VOCs, what are those? These are also in the slides, but these are non-anthropogenic sources. Maybe you can say like what is the in terms of composition, what is its relation. Dr. Ichikawa can answer the question on whether these canisters are refillable, and perhaps Dr. Kisini. I will respond now, sir, on your question on transport. Uh, for benzene, for example, benzene is a carcinogen in itself when emitted. Its main sources in the urban area are industry and also gasoline. For gasoline, there is a limit in terms of what you mix in the fuel. For example, in the Philippines, from 4% mix of benzene in fuel, they have reduced this to 1%. So when they adopted Euro 4 vehicle emission standards, they needed to get equivalent fuel quality. They went down to, uh, uh, sorry, 2 microgram, 2 micrograms per volume. I think. Sorry, the unit I cannot remember. But they have reduced it further. So this influences the emissions of benzene in fuel. Using catalytic converters, advanced control devices for emissions control. These are part of certain emission standards that our countries adopt. So it's influenced by the vehicle technology, definitely, and the fuel quality. If we look at the presentation also from Chengdu, it's very nice to see that apparently there are now electric cement mixers that they use in the city. So usually these heavy duty vehicles, these are also those emitting high levels of VOCs. But now that they have converted to VOC, sorry, to electric, they have removed the influence of fuel quality in the emissions. There are more advanced control technologies for vehicles, and it's all related to fuel quality and technologies that the vehicles adopt. So that's very brief for transportation. Now I call Dr. O'Hara. You can answer from your table as well, Dr. O'Hara.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for good questions. And I would like to try to answer the first question. So, the emission sources are varied with country and regions, quite different. So in Japanese case, most important emission sources is evaporative stationary sources of using solvent, paint, and so on. Maybe that is in Japan, that emission source is dominant by 60 or 70% of total VOC emissions. But maybe I slide, I show you the slide on the slide. The in Philippine case is combustion is solvent and one more emission sources is dominant. So there is a quite difference. So it is very important to estimate the emission using the country-specific information, such as emission factors and activity data, such as energy consumption, some production of industrial, and so on. So at first, we must gather the country-specific information, and then we estimate based on the country-specific information to estimate the emission factor and activity data, and then so total emission in each countries in region. So, but I understand there are high uncertainties in emission inventory so far, especially each countries. So, more further research is necessary, I think. That is same in the biogenic emissions. Biogenic emission case is more uncertainty, I think. That is, there are many parameters for emissions from biogenic. So it is very difficult, but we must try to improve the estimate the emission especially in Asia and in each countries. That's all.
Thank you very much, Dr. O'Hara. Dr. Chikawa, are you online?
Yeah,
Yes, please go ahead.
yeah. I think it was a question about VOC collection, sampling methodology. I think it was, and I have explained about canister method and solvent tube method, and both of them are reanalyzable by using produce. By conditioning. Well, conditioning means cleaning the canister or solvent tube. You can reuse it. And I think I didn't talk about solvent tubes much. If you want to use solvent tubes, you need to heat them in a high temperature for several hours while flowing nitrogen gas. Then you are ready to sample. So yeah, one tube is about $150 US dollars. So yeah, it is pretty reasonable, I think, to analyze easily and reuse it for measuring VOC if you are interested in solvent tubes. Am I answering your question?
So if we heat it, it means we regenerate the tube. Okay. So if we heat it high temperature, it
Yeah.
means the tube we regenerate the tube.
Yes.
And we can use it
You can use it
how
anytime.
many times?
Well, I have used maybe about I don't know how many times. I think it depends on how you use and what the concentrations of the VOCs are, and like maybe the there are many types of solvent tubes. So I think it depends on what type of solvent tube you're going to use. But the ones that I'm using, I think I have used, I think, about 100 times. I reused it about 100 times. So yeah.
Sorry, just to clarify, Dr. Chikawa, you said 100 times.
Yeah, 100 sampling time. Yeah, so it is, I think, I don't
Okay,
know
thank
when
you.
it's gonna, it's gonna break, I mean,
Thank
break.
you.
Yeah, but yeah.
Perhaps Dr. Kisini, you would like to share your experience, how you do it in Thailand?
Thank you, Bert. So at first, before we start with the canister sampling method, we also look for the alternative method. Absorption tube is obviously cheaper, but because for the absorption tube, you will have to decide which parameter that you want to collect. So you have to know exactly, for example, if you want to take sample for benzene that is really good and suitable for the desorption tube from my side of view. But if you already know what is happen in the ambient, I think it's better to use the canister, because in that case, at least you can identify more than 47 compounds already. So if you have the unknown source of chemical compounds. So I think canister is still the way to go. And Bert, may I take the opportunity to answer the question from the Zoom online? The question was asking me about how long does it take for Thailand to set up the standard number, and also what is the most challenges when we set up the standard. So I would say that to set up the number, it take about a year, but that a year is actually after we collect the sample for the entire year. So basically collecting the samples 1 year, taking you 1 year already because you need to set up the annual average. And then another year for discussion and debating, public hearing, and discussion in the committee before we propose to the National Environmental Board. And the most challenging activity that for my side of view, the sampling and analysis method is all the technical possibility. But the thing that we really could not control is when we propose any number to the health effect committee or the environmental board, the policy maker, there will also questions. For example, if we consider the standard number based on health effect only, so how is the economic will grow? For example, we said very limited number of standard, very low value. And they just said, if we want to expand the industrial activity, for example, how do we do that? But still, again, there are two sides of the people discussion during the committee. The people who is the receptor or general people, they concern much about the health. They said for take benzene, for example, this is the topic that we have discussed for a long time. Benzene, the only point that we were convinced that we will use 1.7 at the annual average is that based on WHO, actually benzene has no safety value. It's carcinogen, so nobody supposed to export to any benzene. So that is satisfied by the non-profit organization and also the public. But the industrial side still questions our action until now, because if we set the standard value with this high, how do they maintain the business? So we just can simply say that take more action and do more responsibility for the control measure. So I think the more challenges is to make everyone accept the value that we propose, that take a lot of more discussion process. So I hope I answered the questions both from online and also from the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kisini. Indeed, yes, there are many questions on your experience, and also from Dr. Mylene Cayetano. She asked, I think you have answered some of this. Also from our colleagues from Myanmar, Wiki Soy. I think you have answered, and you have mentioned this reluctance from, of course, private sector in terms of complying to these VOC standards. Some question, perhaps Dr. O'Hara, you can respond, is what are the major source of VOCs? I just recall in most of our countries, what is being monitored is this BTX because this is the benzene toluene xylene, right? Because it's relatively mainstream and it's being monitored, it can be monitored. So we know the levels of benzene, toluene, and xylene. But not many countries or monitoring stations will have this or reports this. Maybe only for a few. But perhaps we can pass to Dr. O'Hara again, like what are the major sources of VOCs? Of course, this would be industries, but I'm not sure if you want to expound, like especially from maybe Dr. Kisini, you also have, in the case of Thailand, what are the major sources of VOCs here?
What is major sources in whole Asia, Southeast Asia.
Yes, maybe you can say in general, what are the major sources of VOCs? And
Oh.
maybe you can say something in Japan if you know it, like what were or what are the major sources in Japan. If you know other examples, of course, please feel free.
Yeah, yes. The major emission sources in general is that evaporative emission sources in industrial sectors. That is a major. And but that situation varied with countries. And another major emission source is vehicle from gasoline vehicles. So maybe in Thailand, maybe that vehicle emissions is dominant, no? In some maybe in the case, to time different, I think, region to region different. But and also the in some countries, biogenic VOC is important emission sources, not anthropogenic emission sources, because the VOC is a higher ozone formation potential of, for example, ice plane, alpha plane, beta plane, and so on. But it is very difficult to estimate the emissions from VOC. So still improvement is needed in whole world, in the world, especially in Southeast Asia, I think, because Southeast Asia is a tropical zone, so temperature is high and solar radiation is high. That is very important parameters for emissions from biogenic emission sources. So,
Thank you
yeah.
very much, Dr. O'Hara.
Yes.
We are running out of time, but I have one more question just to clarify. Maybe not sure if Dr. O'Hara or colleagues. At some point, in terms of waste management, some countries are using incinerators, right? And in many of the countries in Asia, we use this for like the incinerators. Are these also a major source of VOCs, Dr. O'Hara? Or if you know of experiences in China, Dr. Fong, you can please also feel free to respond on this, the sources of emissions. We have a mic here, please.
As I already showing the presentation, there's a pie chart. That's industry and the mobile source are the major sources in Chengdu. Besides that, there are also like painting and other sources like burning. They are also the emissions. Yeah.
Thank you.